green. And now I think I'm gonna see what happens if I just a little bit of salt where I put my water. So I'm just gonna try to sprinkle salt where that water was. And then I quickly, it's mostly water there where I stuck the salt. I open almost all the way back up to white paper really quick. So I can see that difference right away. That was my line of water. And you can see how dark the salts are. And over here where I had the blue paint, I put a couple of salts just for comparison, and it looks really different over there where there wasn't as much water. So that tells me something about if there's more water and less paint, the salt reacts really differently with the paint. So the salt's almost like a sponge. It'll soak up the pigment. Or the alcohol sort of does the holes in the pigment. Okay, at your table, you have two things that are new. One, someplace at your table you should have some little pieces of wax paper. And those are cut fairly close to the right size. And you should have some plastic wrap. The plastic wrap is big, like I tried to give you a big chunk for every 2 people, so you'll need the scissors. You'll want to cut a chunk off the plastic wrap. So plastic wrap and wax paper are 2 of my favorite things to do with watercolor. It just doesn't always work out if you don't use enough color and you don't use enough water. So this is going to be a color and important kind of thing. I am going to do, again, a wet into wet, like color mix wash. So I'm going to put kind of a line, and I'm going to add a second color. And I'm going to let them sort of blur together a little bit. Not as much water as the last time, but some water. Enough water that it's going to move. Both the wax paper and the plastic wrap are effects that work. They have to dry overnight, kind of like the salt does. And you have to be kind of quick. So I did my wet into wet wash, and all I'm gonna do is take my piece of wax paper, and I'm just gonna stick it down in the top of my paint. Done deal. It'll dry till tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll see what it looks like. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with the plastic wrap, but I'm going to do two spaces together. So I'm going to do another wet into wet wash. Just because I know that I like the way these look when the color's involved. So I'm going to do analogous sort of color scheme. I've got some green, and now I'm going to add some yellow. I put a little blue in there. It doesn't matter what colors. And I do the same thing down here, right? I'm thinking about like value keys, so I'm going to put some super dark black. Some of this purple. And then, I know the plastic wrap, the wax paper can just be flat on there, and there's something about the wax and the paint that it will make designs. The plastic wrap, I don't want to have it be flat. I want to kind of take my section of plastic wrap. And I'm going to put it over the top of both of these actually at the same time, I think, or I can make 2 small sections. But the plastic, I want it to kind of be wadded up. I don't want it to be all the way just in one spot. I want it to have, it's kind of like when we do the lift off with the paper towel and you want to make like that cloud texture. You want some parts of the plastic wrap to sit in the paint and some parts to sit in the paint. So I'm gonna ball up my plastic wrap. My sketchbook starts to look like a garbage, right? Of all this crazy stuff stuck on here. And those are like, you know, it's delayed gratification. We won't know what those look like until tomorrow when you come back. Let's see. My stripes from before are dry now. So I am going to put a wash of color over my stripes from before. I'm actually going to put my tape back down so I don't put color every place. So this is dry. I can feel that it's dry. I'm not moving any of my color. So I'm going to just wash over the top of this with a new color. Kind of see what happens. I'm actually going to change the color as I go, so I'm going to add a little dots. Right away, there are a couple of things I notice. I notice that if I brush, if there's too much water, like here there's too much water, so my lines are blurring. Or if I brush too much, my lines are also blurring. So if I want to keep detail, I need to be careful. These are like experiments for, you know, future painting. But I can see that the way that the lines that I drew before are going to drift in the paint are really different than the way the lines you draw over a wet wash are. More of the definition, but I lose some of it. It can be an interesting way to make a picture, like a drawing in the background of a painting, and then wash over the top of it. And you're going to lose part of the drawing, but you're going to keep part of the drawing. So as we start to think about adding symbols to our artwork, this can be an interesting way to soften some of the symbols we include. Let's see. These last three, I'm just gonna flat wash the same color. Well, it's kind of gonna be a graduated wash. I'm gonna hope that they dry fairly fast. Oh, you can see that. Color so. So I have this one leftover dry one over here, and it's kind of what I want to do. I want to play with the idea that watercolor will stamp, okay? And that is kind of a small spot. At the back, in your bin, you should have some bubble wrap that you can paint on and stamp down. You also have like caps, lids from things that you can use. So like I have a lid here from my USB that I can take and dip in paint. Oh, I just dropped it in the paint. And I can use it to stamp these little, if I can get enough paint on it. So I'm gonna use my paintbrush and I'm gonna put paint on the edge of this cap. And then I can use that tip over here so I can stamp like the little lines, like the part of it that will touch the paper. It's just not really flat. But you can do that with bubble wrap. You can also do that with, there's a bin at the back of our classroom that's full of these like texture rubbings. So I can take watercolor and I can paint it on this texture, and I can push it down onto my paint and make the texture come out onto my painting. And that can be a really fun way to also experiment with what that's like over here on my same color, right? But they're a little wet still. What does that look like if I stamp over paint that's a little wet? So if you want to go grab, you can use the bubble wrap that's at your table or the caps that are at your table. If you want to go grab, there's a whole bin of these back on the back counter, all different designs, all different textures. What do the stripes look like? Oh, that's cool. You can kind of layer different stamps with different colors. Dry wash, they stay a little more distinct. On the wet wash, they're starting to drift a little, but I still have some of that stamped texture. So like I said, these big texture rubbers are at the back of the classroom. You can go ahead and go grab one if you like. Then I just use a paper towel to get the